All right, you're welcome back. And as I said before the break, it's about education, a very important sector of this nation, like any other serious nation as well. We look into some policies of the federal government. And of course, to shed more light for us, we have a Dawn in the house. By the way, Tomilola is here. Good
Yeah,
morning,
good
Tommy.
morning, Femi. Good morning to our wonderful viewers. So
Very well.
welcome to the conversation.
Yeah, and we have been joined this morning by University Dawn in every right possible. He's a Dawn, and of course, he's somebody who has held many capacities, but because of time, he might not be able to reel out all of it. He was a director at the distant learning program of the University of Ibadan at some point, and currently is the DVC, Deputy Vice-Chancellor in charge of academics at the Achievers University in Owo, Ondo State, the Sunshine State. We have been joined this morning by Professor Aremu Oyesoji. Good morning, Prof. Good to see you again.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you,
It's
sir.
good to see you guys. Thank you so much.
All right, let's move straight to the matter. And the first gear of the conversation is about, the ban, if I may use that particular word, not the ban, by the way, the policy of the government about the 18-year requirement, for any young person, any child student, to attain before they can get university admission. By the way, we have been seeing 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, even lesser than that, getting university admission. In fact, we've seen some who graduated at the age of 16, and then you're wondering, when did these individuals get these admission? But recently, the federal government, through the Ministry of Education, through the minister, reinforced that policy again to say, hold on, the stipulated age remains 18. And of course, I think JAMB as well, they are towing that line to say nobody will be allowed to write JAMB from next year. The Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, made the same point and said maybe we might let this year go, but from 2025, nobody will even be allowed to attempt to write the WAEC and NECO exams, that is the SSC exam, lead to talk about the JAMB, because if you have not even written your SSC, you can't attempt JAMB until you attain the age of 18. Prof, is that right? You are a university Dawn, you work with young people and even adults, but you see these people. Is there any sense in this? That is what Nigerians are asking. Prof.
Thank you so much. About this policy, there have been so many arguments for and against the policy. I think we should look at this policy of the federal government from a broader perspective. First, let me say this. Let me provide this information. I was at the JAM policy meeting in July in Abuja when the minister first mooted the idea that as from this academic session, the ongoing admission exercise all over Nigeria, basically it will be 18 years old. And people say, no, you can't just bring up that kind of a policy when the candidates that wrote the UTME were not so informed. What happened to many of them, I would say about 70 to 80% of them who wrote UTME, and yet you are not saying changing the rule. So it was voiced against at that meeting. I must say, I was at that meeting, and after some high table consultations, the minister, the JAM registrar, the minister said, okay, that's okay. We will allow you to go this year, but from next year it will be 18 years old. Even at that, from there people are not discussing, people are now really arguing for and against. While that is still going on in the public space, just last week, the minister came up again and said that it will be also 18 years for candidates, our children who are in the secondary schools, to write NECO and WAEC exam. The same argument goes this time around. These are children. I won't even talk about JS1 to JS3. Let's talk about SS1 to SS3, who are already in school, who are thinking that next year I will write NECO WAEC, 2 years time I will write NECO WAEC, 3 years time I will write NECO WAEC. So let's look at those in SS card. Leave out the JS classes this time around. So in other words, you are now saying they cannot write. The question now is, what will they be doing within that period? What will they be doing? That's the argument. I care less about, okay, we'll still come about the policy. But we talk about the psychology of those children who already say, okay, next year I will have to work, year after I will be in the university, 2 years time I will have to work NECO, 2 years after I will be in university, 3 years time I will. Again, I said, let's leave those in the JS classes. Now, what becomes of their psychology? Is anybody thinking of their self-esteem? How about what you call demotivation? If you say they are not in SS3 now, those who go to SS3 now will write WAEC. There's okay, SS3 you cannot write WAEC, you'll be out for 2 years. Again, at least I would say that 80% of them fall within that category. What happens to them? What will the government do? Is there any provision on the part of the government for them to keep them busy? That is one. Number two, how about the parents who have invested so much financially, emotionally, psychologically on them? Where would they keep them? Mind you, many of these parents, if you talk about interlands, okay, they will say, okay, they can follow them to farms and so on and so forth. But if you look at cities, we have both parents, mother and father, are somewhere busy doing something else, and these children are in the boarding schools. Now, they will not be in the boarding school because there's no point keeping them in the boarding schools. So what happens? Again, that's on the part of the parents and guardians as well. How about the schools? Well, we may single out the public secondary school this time around. Let's look at the private secondary schools, who, of course, I will say that 70 to 80% Nigerian parents send their words to this time around. What happens to them as well? Is anybody thinking of them, about these people, whether you like it or not? Education is in the social realm, but the first thing remains that they are in business. What happens to them? Is anybody thinking about that? Then I want to ask again, as at any point in time, you see, if you get to office as a minister or as a governor or as anybody, you have policy given to you. This is important. The minister said that this policy has been on for years. The only thing that they want to implement now. Good. The question is, if you get to office, you see policy, what you should do is to do a kind of assessment of the policy. Is this still valid? Is this still okay, given the situation of things in the country? The minister has not need to give us this question, this answer rather. If he's able to do that, we'll then be able to say we'll move forward. Number 3 or 4 this time around, at what point, where was the meeting in which National Council of Education decided on this? We need to know. Because National Council of Education regulates everything. Where was the meeting where did it take place? What was the outcome of that meeting? At what point did they inform Nigerians of this policy? Yes, it's talking about the whole system of 6334 system. Yeah. What happened then during the so-called name of 6334 system? We have so many workshops. Do we still have the workshop this time around to engage those and these children? At the point we have what we call 6523 system. Now, the two system here is the A-levels HNC. How many states, how many schools in any state, in our given state, 32 states, including Abuja, have A-levels running? In Ibadan, for example, I can tell you in all of Ibadan, maybe we have just about 5 private institutions and, of course, public universities like ISI, International School Ibadan, running A-level. I was a product of A-levels, higher school certificate. But that was when government did not dip its hand so much in the public secondary school. I don't know any public secondary school in Nigeria. I can't, for higher sector that I mentioned, I would say is one way semi, one way private, one way public. I don't know of any secondary school in Nigeria, maybe 1 or 2, running A-levels this time around. So these are the things the government should be able to interrogate for it to be able to say, okay, we're coming out with this policy. Fine. If you finish secondary school, okay, that even at that, it won't stop you from writing WAEC. The only thing is that you go for your A-levels before you go to the university. I think the government needs to really think through this very well and stop coming out with a Bolekaja policy. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Prof. Many interesting points that you have raised there. Many questions as well, especially looking on the part of the child, the student in question, the parent as well, and of course the schools, especially the secondary schools. But then, Prof, I'd like to ask, because I think the minister made that assertion when he said, for the avoidance of doubt, that's Professor Mammon, he said, for the avoidance of doubt, this is not a new policy. This is a policy that has been there for a long time. And Prof, I'd like us to look at, in parentheses now, the merit of the argument of Professor Mammon, the Minister of Education, to say they must be 18. In fact, he has been quoted to say, if actually done very well, it should take a child, or by the time a student, let's stick to the word student, by the time a student is round enough, in secondary education, he or she must be around the age of 17. And then the question is, at what age did such students enter the primary or the pre-nursery? Because these days, you see a 1-year-old, 2-year-old go to school in the name of crash, from crash to pre-nursery. There is a part called the playgroup, from the playgroup to the pre-nursery or the pre-KG, KG1, KG2, nursery 1, nursery 2, before the primary school. And all of these, you still see them, getting through with the education before 15, before 16. So, Prof, the question is there merit? I know you don't hold the brief of the minister, but let's look at the merits, because you are in the university system. There is rigor for a young person, a student who is planning to get admitted into university. This is not a time in which your parents will wake you. This is not a time in which your parents will make some decisions for you. It is assumed that you must be able to take some decisions to be able to motivate yourself. But when you see a student who has graduated secondary school at the age of 13, 14, 15, can you hold such individual responsible? And let's talk about things that happen, decision making. If something untoward happens, can you hold a minor responsible? These are some of the issues. So let's look at the merits, Prof.
Thank you so much. You raised two issues that the minister talked about, that the policy has been on ground. I think I also said that he's told us that the policy has been on ground. But as I said, I want to repeat what I said the other time. If you come to government, you have a policy on ground. Have you interrogated that policy in vis-a-vis the current realities? What I want to call assessment, need assessment, policy assessment, I think he needs to do that. Now, coming back to the second leg of the question, the merit or demerits of having our children early in school. That's what we call unread children. These days, many parents are guilty of this, especially the elites. The elites talking about hungry children, right from because somebody will say that right from before they are even 1 year old, they are enrolled in school. And you know what happened? 2 years old. You know what happened? Teachers' school will also bombard a 2-year-old boy with so many assignments. You now begin to talk about this in developmental psychology. That what we call formative years. It goes on gradually. Of course, if I wouldn't mind taking you through what we call the Erikson developmental stages, it almost brings from one stage to the other. Fine, I quite agree. You and I, of course, I didn't start school at the age until the age of 9 years old. Of course, due to poverty, I must say, but thank God for His grace that come about. But then the question now is, if you I won't say because of what happened to me. Of course, I said it was none of my making there, and of my parents too. Then I will have to wait that my son or my girl is 7 years old before he's enrolled in primary school. Remember that many parents, elites, would have to go to their workplaces, their businesses. So that's what we call preschooling. For the preschooling or preschoolers, of course, they have to be engaged in one thing or the other. So when you have the preschool, I don't know at that point in time, they are not yet supposed to be in real cognitive-oriented schools, but they will have to play. They will have to use their hands to play, and that's what is happening in Finland. That time it's not partly you pass or you fail. It even surprises me when children from 3 or 4 come back home and they are giving the so-called report sheet. What kind of report sheet? So I can't agree. These are the things we need to look at the merits of this. These are fine. But then let's come back to the reality. Even at that, if you push a child and the child is able to write WAEC at 16, 17, enter university at 16, 17, then that is in order. I recall in this same country some years ago, up till now, not years ago. Of course, some years ago, at Obafemi Awolowo University, you can enter OAU less than 16 years old. But in Ibadan, you say you cannot enter until 16. If you are given admission, if you pass your UTME and you pass your WAEC, everything, you are given admission and you are not yet 16. Ibadan will give you admission and will keep the admission for you. When you are 16, come. So that is in order. So 16 is okay. So I think we need to know this. Much more than this, we cannot again begin to compare what happened some years ago with what is happening now. Look, sit down any 4, 5-year-old, 6-year-old child. The manner in which he or she will engage you in intellectual discourse, you'll be amazed. So many things. Because you see, part of what we're talking about developmental stages, with concept, some of us are now faulting the Piaget developmental stages. What he said there in his theory of constant value, but what we know that things are changing. So I think we need to know this and, of course, adhere to this and look at the reality. Again, let's go back to what is happening. Of course, some people say, I've read it about and I know about it. In Europe, in America, you have to be 16, 17, 18. But the only thing that if you enter university before 17 over there, you are regarded as a minor. Everything that you do, your parents have to sign for you. But that doesn't mean you are not in school. You are still in school. You go on with your schooling. So these are the things I think the government should do. What I will, of course, you said you are not holding brief for the minister, but as much as possible, in part of this merit and demerits, what the minister should do is to look at the policy again. Let's reassess the policy. Let's look at the realities of what is going on in the country, what we have now in the country, heard about. Again, if you want to keep children for 2 more years who are not there, and they will not be in the what you call gap schools or A levels or HSCs, what will they be doing? And you know, these are children who have mastered technology so much, who have more of Yahoo children in our society, who have more of criminality in our society. And before you know, even these people, these boys are get to the university, unless they are so trained by their parents and guardians, of course, the university will be contented there with much more serious behavioral problems later.
All right, sir. Thank you, Professor Aremu Oyesoji, for that those brilliant comment. And yes, we know that for every action, there is a reason. And one of the reasons highlighted by the minister is about the parents pressuring their underage children to gain admission into universities. And yes, we won't take the fact that we have parents that pressurize their kids. You know, there's this Yoruba saying, so early, that they try to push their kids into doing things fast, even beyond their age limit, even beyond their capability. So now the minister is saying that one of the reasons why it is placing this age restriction is also to restrict parents from pressurizing their kids into pushing them into tertiary institutions. Do you feel that this reason is a valid one?
Yeah, thank you so much. I said this, I think it is wrong for parents to pressure their kids, their children. And at the time I said, we call them horrid children. It's not proper. It's not proper. At least we say 65, but I find it very unconvincing for a 14-year-old or for a 15-year-old to be in the university. Let me give this. Just yesterday, a parent called me, named with 10, said that a ward will not be able to get admission to a particular university just because she's 15. And I said, why can I suggest? And the university can I suggest for her? I said, look, why are you in a hurry? Let this girl mature and be 16. This thing is still okay. But for 15, 14, 15, no. So that is it. So I think we just have to cancel or probably let the parents know that there's no point hurrying up these children. Grace of God is there for you. Don't say because you want to eat on your mouth, kind of thing. No, it's not so. But that these children are mature in mind, emotionally, physically, and even socially, they will be able to do more, kind of a thing. But this will have to start from the primary school. Don't rush them to the primary school. Don't rush them probably from primary 4 to JS1. No. And recall in the past, of course, we have exceptional children who in secondary school probably will say, okay, have double promotion. But even that was the period, the year in which the age of entry to schools was not 4 or 3 years again. I quite agree to that. I enjoyed that. What I missed in my not starting school very late, very early, I gained it in primary school and secondary school. So instead of spending 6 years, I spent 6 years in primary school. Instead of spending 5 years in secondary school, I spent 4 years. So those are so it is the amount to 7 years for me, which is okay. So ideally, I think this is exactly what parents should know how they could do. Is there's no point rushing them, these children, let them mature. But again, even at that, setting age 18 is also not too good. Thank you.
And interesting take there, Prof. Let's look at the prospect of such a child or student rather, and especially after graduation. We'll still come back to the conversation. But many persons will say because of what the parents, especially young parents, face, in getting jobs, because you see the requirement, no matter how a job is juicy, except in executive positions, for graduate interns, you hear the age limit must be 23, sometimes 24, sometimes 25, even you see 22, and they expect this 22-year-old to have a 4 years experience, to have a 5-year experience. And these are some of the reasons why parents will say, would rather project such a student early in life, so that by the time he or she is rounding up, she runs up early and she can get requisite volunteering or internship, whatever he or she needs to get. The job, situation in Nigeria, this is one of the reasons why parents might want their children to finish early, so that they can be between that bracket of getting good jobs. And they won't say because you are 25, because you are finishing at 23 and you don't even have that experience, and so you just keep on looking for job. Just like my colleague asked, Tomilola, isn't that a valid argument again? Because we can talk about the morality, we can talk about the logic. How about the reality of our nation? That after graduation, there are some things that are expected of you, and they won't, employers will not consider either you went early to school or you didn't went early to school. You must just be within a particular age bracket. So extending this discussion beyond admission, how about the prospect of such a student, in getting jobs later in life?
Yes, you are right. I quite agree with you. And this is part of what we should begin to interrogate as a nation. Let's look at the labor market, especially private sectors, the kind of limit they set, that you must not be more than this before you you must have this social experience. I think this is part of what the Ministry of Education and the Labor Ministry begin to interrogate. I quite agree with you very well. And again, let's look at what happens in the public space of higher institutions in Nigeria. Again, you want to, another argument, let me put it this way, that parents also talk about, is that if you say your child should be 16, 17 before, or even 18 before he gets to higher institutions, he gets to study a particular institution, maybe 4 years. That 4 years in public university is plus X. But you don't know what will happen in public university given union industrial action. If you are able to get it right, and your university runs smoothly without any industrial action, if you are 17 or 16, you get to the university. By 20, you are finishing the university. By 21, you are finishing the NYSC. You go for university and return. Again, we also look at what is happening in the NYSC this time around. We have so many batches, batch A, batch B, batch C, or even batch D. These are also things we need to also interrogate. So I think the parents I quite understand and I quite sympathize with these feelings. I'm also a parent. You want your child, you want your child to be able to get that, so that we'll say that, oh, he's not qualified age-wise. He spent he's 16, he spent 8 years in the university before NYSC and so on and so forth because of strike. And so these are the things I think we need to begin to discuss, interrogate. But that notwithstanding, I must say that it is still not good on the two legs this time around for parents to hurry their children to schools. At least I want to say this. But 16 is okay, either for writing WAEC or to get admission to our institutions. So we cannot say 18. If you say 18 again, somebody get admission to the university as 18. You are not addressing concerns in the universities. 18 plus 4, that gives you 22. plus X. You don't know where you finish. That guy, that chap may be in university for about, say, 25 years. So these are the issues we need to be interrogating and for us to be able to get it right as a country. And again, let's see what happens in other places. I recall very well in this country, I think in around 2006, thereabout, when we have issues in Nigerian universities, many parents send their children to Ghana, to Benin Republic, to Togo. Of course, there are issues about the universities in the Benin Republic of Togo. But in Ghana, I know many parents send their children to Legon and pay handsomely, heavily. That's what they call capital flight. Capital flight. So we need to address this as much as possible. We will not be able to go back to that again. If you say 18, many parents will see ferrying their children out of Nigeria to go attend schools elsewhere. So this is very, very important. We should note this.
Yeah, very well, Prof. You know, but you just spoke to it. One of the dailies we read this morning, you know, talked to that, and in which some analysts and you know, education specialists have talked about the capital flight part of it. In as much you have been, you know, on this matter to say this is what we are going to do. Except you are 18, you can't write your WAEC, you can't, your SSC or your UTME. It will just make some parents who have the means to take their words off the shores of these nations as well. But, you know, I spoke to somebody earlier, and I'm speaking to you as a person in the university community, a very high-ranking person. Let's look about the rigors. I talked about the rigors of gaining admission. You are a 15-year-old, you are seeking admission, or you are a 17, 18-year-old. The decision-making process of such a child, of course, we know there is individual differences, but what you'll be able to do as a 15-year-old is different from what you are able to do, how you're able to reason. You know, you have students in universities having to call their mommies and their daddies, mothers and fathers for the simplest of all things just because they are still minors. Isn't this a valid? But I know that you have said maybe 16-year-old is a valid argument. So to say, the question is decision-making process. I've seen, and let me tell you a personal experience of somebody in a university, or some individuals in universities who can't even cross the road, the normal common road, because of who they are, very privileged from, you know, from their homes to their secondary schools. They have always gone in cars. They are brought by drivers, or they take school bus, drop them in their homes. Now they go to university, they don't have some of these things. The simplest basic, you know, on the street, we call it OT. To just cross the road, they can't do that. And you know, some of the things, the pressure, mental pressure that university or polytechnic higher education will take from you. Isn't this a valid argument? That's one part that I want us to look at as well, because you, an insider in one of these things, is this not valid enough?
Thank you so much. I could agree with you. That's a valid argument. And personally, I've encountered such undergraduate students. I have to ask myself, how old are you? Of course, as I said, we will say 16 in my university. Even at that, you still see that somehow mentally, emotionally, that chap is not even ready. I could agree with you. But this are probably one out of 2 or 3 cases, kind of a thing. But at that point in time, what the department university will do is to do a kind of orientation for them, and as much as possible, get them. In other words, they are coming, kind of a thing. Of course, you recall in your own time, in your university days, you have to do your research on your own, you have to do everything on your own. But this time around, you see parents following their words to do this, that. And we have to say, look, Mama, Baba, go home. Allow this child to mature through the program and on the program as well. So in so doing, we'll help them. So for that, I can agree with you that we could have a minor 15, though that is not too good. I told you of a case of somebody who comes in 15 years. I said, no, you can't come into 15 years. Let her wait till she's 16, which is okay. And this time around, we also need to probably explain one thing to our parents. At home is very good. Let them begin to experience certain things we also experience in a way. It's not every time you drop them in school, take them from school, or even time, let them walk some kilometers as well. And again, at home, let them do some basic things at home, not leaving it to your house help to do, and so on and so forth. So, but then they are getting out of the home to the university. They are mature in a way. Let them know how to cook one way or the other as well. My own children know how to cook before they get to the university. And let me tell you, they all get to the university at 16. Of course, and they are doing well. So it has to do also with what we call parenting. And this is very, very important. We need to stress this.
All right.
All right, sir. Thank you for that. We have been speaking with Professor Oyesoji. We were talking about 18-year admission, a right move or not. We'll be right back after this break. Please stay with us.